All right, troops, strong and conditioned, live from his son's bedroom. The reason being is that my dog has just went absolutely crazy the last couple of podcasts, so I thought I would pay my next guest the respect of having a more professional environment, which is my son's bedroom. So, anyway, special guest tonight. And I know a lot of people, particularly Burpee guys, will be very excited about this one because this character is very mysterious. He is probably one of the more prominent Burpee guys you will find on social media. However, we rarely hear him talk. We just see these amazing Burpees, which is obviously the way he communicates himself, which is through these very complex Burpee combinations, which is what drawn me to the guy for the first time. So anyway, with no further ado, we have Mandatory G, aka Marty. How you doing, Marty? It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. That was one good introduction. I appreciate that.
Did you like that, mate?
That was a good one. That was a good one. First time ever been called none of those things. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for reaching out too. And I appreciate everything you're doing for everybody out there too as well, man. You came up and I watched you for a while now, so I appreciate this.
Yeah. Thanks very much. I'm humbled by your kind words. So let's get to the brass tacks, Marty. Let's talk about your journey and where we have ended up at this point, which is Burpee Land. Just give us a little run through as to why you discovered this brutal exercise and why you have made it your own.
Yeah, well, definitely, fitness, exercising has always been a part of my life, somehow, some way. If it wasn't through sports, if it wasn't through, just running around in the neighborhood as a kid, being strong, being fast, that's always been there, right? Um, in the house, I don't remember a memory that there wasn't equipment, meaning weights, dumbbells, somewhere around, right? It was in the part of the family, it was always there. And then eventually, as time, went on, I actually got a glimpse of all these calisthenic exercises, which led me to trying pull-ups, dips, and then eventually I ran across some guys doing burpees. It was on television, of course, right? And I tried it out, and it was just something that, like you said, it's brutal. I hated it. I didn't understand it when I first tried it. But for some reason it stuck. It stuck and I was like, this is something that I gotta try. And like you said, it just evolved into so many other things. And when you get into that zone, like you spoke about in your last video, man, it's something else. And it's something that's just like you said, it's unexplainable. There's really no words for it, and you just catch the bug. Once you get into that zone, that breath, you're just in there. And that's something that I think I'm gonna do this till the casket drops, till I can't go
Absolutely.
anymore. So
Absolutely.
that's how it kind of started out with getting into the whole fitness thing, and then eventually just putting burpees into my routines.
Okay, so let's backtrack a little. I like to get an idea of people's fitness journeys and what got them there in the first place. So, what was the first training method that you started to devote yourself to?
Honestly, it was the weights. It was weightlifting. Again, I don't remember my house first memories of is 5, 6 years old, since my dad. So my father also started lifting. He was into sports. So yeah, he had his equipment. And from very little, he made me my own little barbell with like 2 pound weights and all that good stuff. And he included me in going to the gym, and this was in the 80s when the era of right Gold's Gym and the big guys that came out. So that just always stuck. And then outside the house was sports, right? All the neighborhood kids, the faster you are, the better. Who wants to race? I'm the one. Let's go. I'll beat anybody playing football, basketball at the park. I lived, I would say, less than a block away from a park. So that was like my second home, right? Basketball, football, baseball. And then the house sport was boxing. So that was another big thing, right? I mean, always working out, always conditioned, always trying to get better and stronger and faster than the next guy. Of course, competition, that was always there. And that's how it was. It was from very young age that I saw the sense of what we had to offer and what we can get from it.
Yeah. Sometimes that's something I envy about American culture in regards to the sports that are available to children.
Yeah.
Although it's the same in Scotland, there's plenty of sports available, but the predominant sport in Scotland is football, or soccer, as Americans like to call it, but really it's called football because you kick it with your foot.
Yeah.
And like boxing, things like that are maybe also a pathway that some guys can explore, but it's mostly football. Whereas Americans, you've got all of these sports available to you. You have basketball, you have baseball, you have American football, you have lacrosse, and everybody's just geared to doing something. So I kind of envy that. But when you were talking about weights there, how did you approach the weights at a young age? Were you quite, did you do it for fun or did you follow a structured program?
No, it was definitely all for fun. And I'm gonna say, even for show, me and the buddies, the little kids, we're 10, 11 years old, trying to curl as much as we can, right? So it was just for fun, but at the same time, I believe we were building this habit of just having it around and not letting it go. And it was somewhat of again, ego as a little kid, right? Trying to be the best one or the fastest one or the strongest. But no, there was no set routine. I knew the basics from watching my father and then other people and then movies, right? Guys out there doing their stuff like the bench press, just the common ones. But I never really took it serious. For one, because I also heard about injuries, right? I heard about guys that supposedly, stunt their growth if they work out too young, and so this was all around. All these rumors were floating around, which we never really took serious, but at the same time, we didn't completely ignore them, right? Because again, you want to be tall, you want to be strong, you want to be fast. So anything that might hinder that, for me in my head, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna wait till maybe I get a little older to really get serious with the weights, and that's what I did. So it was kind of just for fun, but at the same time, I believe it was building that habit and just having it around and never letting it go.
Yeah. Do you have any children yourself, Marty?
I do. I have a son. I have a son. He's 20 at the time right now. He's up in college up north California here in Cali. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's doing good. Um he got into sports as well. We got him into baseball and basketball a little bit. You know, I introduced him to more of the calisthenics stuff though.
Yeah.
Right, right, right. So for a long time, uh the weights kind of just were there, but it was mainly like if maintenance wise, like if I didn't have time or I got off work or I didn't, just get in a few sets. But mainly it was pull ups, dips, push ups. I mean, I did that for a long time. And
Yeah.
the push ups, meaning like, all kinds of different variations, just like we all do. But it was that. And the weights again was always more of a I guess a filler of what I couldn't get in on the workouts, but it was
Yeah.
a real serious thing until I got a little older. And my son kind of, yeah, he gets it. He's done it. I think lately he's starting to work out a little more, but he's a busy kid, right? He's in college. He goes to school. He works. So yeah, yeah. So that's him right there. He has an idea of it, but again, he didn't take it serious, and I don't think I made it serious. It was more like a game, right?
Yeah. 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 The reason I asked is because I am of the belief that children should probably be pushed in the direction of calisthenics
Yeah,
prior to starting a weightlifting regime. Nothing to do with the idea that it stunts growth. I think that's been proven not to be the case. However, I just think that mastering body weight at that early age is probably going to lay a more stronger foundation if they choose to do weights in the future.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Like
Um,
increasing, sorry.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. I didn't think it through that way, but at the same time, that's what I did. I kind of went to body weight and calisthenics first, just kind of, by default, and then I went into the weights. And I could say if I would have probably done it backwards, who knows? It would have been, I think it would have been different. My physique probably would have been different. My
Yeah,
understanding and experience of working out would have been different.
yeah,
Because I've met a bunch of guys that they started with weights at, 13, 14, 15, all the way through high school, playing sports and all that. You get them on some calisthenics, it's kind of strange that they can bench 300, but they can't do a pull up. So it's, it was that whole thing. And like you said, it's a different type of strength as you're growing as well, too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very weird when that happens, where you get guys who they can destroy a lat pull down, but they cannot perform one chin up. It doesn't make sense to me. I just something I don't really. I don't
Yeah,
think it's right. You should be able to do a chin up before you do a lat pull down. But obviously, lat pull downs are more they're more attractive to younger guys and so
right,
forth
right,
nowadays.
right.
So we've mastered weights. We've did the weights. What was your father doing? Was your father following a structured program, or was he also having fun?
No, definitely. He got serious for a long time. And he was in the gym. He had a bunch of friends going, and he stuck to a certain program, just a lot of, the basics, right? Bench press, curls, squats, just the basics. But he stuck to it for a while, for about, I'm gonna say maybe a good 10 years. And then something happened where I think he just couldn't go, or they closed the gym down. It was this old gym called Jack LaLanne. I don't know if you ever heard of this guy.
Yeah, I.
Yeah, so that gym was right here in LA, one of his, and he was going there, and I think they closed it, and then I think little by little he just kind of just stopped going, and then you know what happens, right? I mean, we kind of started growing up, we kind of took over his ways, we took him out of his area, but yo, he definitely was following like a structure. I'm not sure where he got it from, maybe just watching guys, right?
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, he was definitely a big bench guy. He
yeah,
was he was hitting 315 on the incline.
yeah,
So yeah, he got pretty good at, just all the free weights.
yeah,
And it's kind of funny because when he sees me doing burpees, he's just like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "You don't really hit those plates." So it's definitely a little good contrast that I have with him. But
yeah,
he's super supportive in it, and he's like, "Man, just go ahead and do that. Just be careful." He's big on like injuries and like recovery. He was always that guy, and he
yeah.
did actually. That was one of his sports was football, well, soccer.
Yeah.
Football, yeah, yeah.
Did
Because
follow
so
a team.
I'm Mexican. He's from Mexico, and out there that's the main sport, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so when he was younger, see, I think he went like this too. He was all about running. He
yeah,
was fast, he was quick on his feet, and that was his thing, his legs. So once he stopped playing soccer, and he had us and children and family and all that, I think there was a big gap. And then finally he got into weightlifting, I think off of a bet. I think somebody was like, "Hey, I could do," and he caught the bug and he never quit. Well, I mean, he quit after a while, but yeah, that's how he was doing his stuff.
yeah. It's interesting because back then I don't think programs for most people were things that they learned in the gym as
Right.
opposed to online, social media, on the internet, maybe a magazine or something like that back then.
Right.
The knowledge was gained through your eyes and what you seen was happening and looking at what the biggest guy did and just following their lead.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But in
Definitely.
a way, the results were probably better because there was a lack of overthinking then. It was just go in and do work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm big on that one. Yeah. I mean, thoughts become things, right? And if you have too much up here, it could probably hinder or block as much results down here, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've did the weights and then the calisthenics starts to make its presence felt. How did you start to master your technique and your work capacity and so forth? How did you manage to bring these things up? What were you doing?
So that's what it was. Fortunately, the internet started coming up. Other areas started coming about, like meaning where I worked actually had all the pull-up bars, all the dip bars down by the beach, right? So I was hitting it every day. Every day I was hitting probably the same muscles every day. And it's just this experience of it, trying to go harder. And again, it was starting to go into, what I'm eating and how I'm sleeping, so it just turned into this whole new page, a whole new leaf. Also, because I had my son at the time, right? So it gave me that little step of like, okay, stop messing around, get serious, be a good dad, all that good stuff, right? And being fit and strong, well, I want him to see that. So it went from doing push-ups, dips, push-ups every day, and then eventually starting to like put in a little bit of cardio because I do some hiking, right? I like hiking, so that was a big cardio thing for me. I didn't want to do too much because back in those days I was just, I mean, I'm not big right now anyway, but I was real slim. So wasn't trying to lose weight, right?
yeah,
I was trying to gain weight, but at the same time I wanted the right type of weight. I didn't
yeah,
want to just bulk. I didn't want to just eat all crazy, which you could, but I also had that little worm in me like, hey, be careful, right? You don't want to eat all crazy and get sick or any of that stuff. And it was just over experience and just going hard every day. And eventually, just little things started coming up to where I saw something, I tried it, and it was like, okay, say the Navy SEAL, that looks new. Maybe if I switch it or turn it this way or turn, so things started coming about where it was kind of just being a little more, I guess, imaginative and creative.
yeah,
And once that hit, it just felt like, honestly, I've explained it to people that it's kind of like dancing, right? It was just like this thing that was flowing, right? Especially
yeah,
got music on and it's just going. It just felt smooth and right. And it was just like, wow, maybe if I try this other move and it looked good, I liked it, and it was challenging, right?
yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of give it a little more spice, right? A little more spark to it. And that's how it just started evolving into certain moves that till this point, I mean, I've seen a lot, um, but I haven't seen a lot. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So it just kind of evolved into that, and it's every day, like you said. This is something that we do every day.
Yeah, you raised an interesting point there that caught my ear with regards to like speaking about your body weight and how you didn't want to lose more weight, but you didn't want to gain the wrong weight. And that's the thing about calisthenics and bodyweight training, that the lighter you are, the easier the exercises become. But the heavier you become, you also get stronger doing the exercises.
Yeah.
So it becomes a double edged sword in that
Right.
respect.
Right. Right. Right.
So it's quite interesting, and sometimes I fluctuate between the two. I think, wait, I need to put on weight. I want to put on a bit more mass because I know that's going to make me stronger
Right.
in my pumps. But at the same time, it's like I know if I am at a lighter weight, my performance can shoot through the roof. I can get those higher numbers.
Definitely. Definitely. I agree 100%.
So, with that respect, what were you doing nutrition wise to like maintain that body weight and just kind of keep things optimized on that level?
So other than the burpees and just the overall calisthenics, which is the basics, just pull-ups, dips, push-ups, and squats, right? That was like my go-to. I was doing one day upper body, one day lower body, one day upper body, but I was always sort of conscious of what I was eating, right? Even when I wasn't big on the working out, but just as a kid, um,
Yeah,
I just had this. Don't get me wrong, we went for a while just eating nothing but burgers, right, and
yeah,
all that. But it was always there. And again, I give it up to my dad, my pops, because he's like that, right? He was real meticulous about what he ate, not to the point where it was like, like, hey, you're doing too much, but he never overate, right? He was never big on like sugars and candies and all that stuff.
yeah,
So when I hit about maybe 18, 19, I slimmed up a lot. And I had a job where it was really physical. I was on my feet a lot. I was walking a lot. So I think all that put together just kind of kept me, you know, just slim,
yeah, yeah,
And I was okay with it though.
yeah,
Right? I was okay with it because I know that eventually I was gonna put on some muscle, right?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, I tend to find as well that Mexican food is excellent food for bulking
Oh,
up.
exactly, exactly. And if you know a little bit about it, I mean, Mexicans, we're just like here, more, more, which a lot of us are, right? But yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely. It's always been around and it's always been a little staple of like, hey, be careful, not too much.
yeah. Tortillas, for example, are like a small bulking tool for
Yeah,
me. I like to get a tortilla and put peanut butter inside it, with
Oh,
put it in the microwave, and I eat it, and it's like, fuck, this is amazing.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
5 of these easy, but that would be like 3,000 fucking calories.
yeah. Peanut butter taco, huh?
Peanut butter taco, mate. Peanut
Yeah,
butter
yeah, yeah,
taco.
definitely.
Right,
Yeah,
so let's walk through your, like you said, upper body day, lower body day, which is quite a good approach. Sometimes I've got a little thoughts about the lower body approach when it comes to calisthenics. However, upper body I definitely think is a viable strategy. What were you doing on an upper body day?
it was mainly just squats and lunges. That's all I
No,
was.
upper body day.
Upper body?
Yeah, an upper
Upper
body.
body. So I would try to hit again. This was back then when I didn't know as much. I thought I was hitting every part, right? By just doing pull-ups, dips, push-ups. That was the routine pretty much every other night, right? 3 times a week. That's all I was doing. Skull crushers, that was a big thing as well, right? But at the same time back then, um, I wasn't looking at, certain parts, right? Like meaning a lot of people kind of neglect the back sides, right? Meaning like the back shoulder, the back deltoid, or the back arm, which is, the tricep, because we don't see it, right? So kind of out of sight, out of mind. So at the same time, I wasn't emphasizing too much on the stuff that I guess I couldn't see in the mirror,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But even though the dips and the push-ups hit your tricep, my tricep workout, it wasn't up to the same as I was doing like every other night. I would
yeah.
throw it in maybe once a week, right? But that was my pretty much my upper body, just pull-ups, dips, push-ups.
And were you doing like a Pelican Bay style routine, or were you just trying to hit a rep target, or were you just doing sets to failure? What was your approach?
It was sets to failure. Everything that I was doing was just to failure. And it got to the point where yeah, definitely it was something that was just like I got to the point where I was even questioning it, right? Like, what am I doing here? But at the same time, I knew I had to do it, right? Again, this is I tell these guys, man, if you once you start your fitness journey, you're gonna get a little crazy, right? You're gonna start losing your mind a little bit. So it was just that. I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna do this every single other day or every night sometimes. And it was just till I couldn't go anymore.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was thinking like this is what you're supposed to do.
yeah,
I wasn't doing like, 8, 12, 15, or adding weight. And it was at home. It was all at home workouts. I
yeah,
had they call it a power tower,
yeah,
like you have. Yeah. Yeah, I had that in my house and that's all I was doing.
yeah,
Another one that I think I was trying to do every day was leg raises, just abs. I was trying to hit
yeah,
abs every day.
yeah. Were you manipulating angles in your like chin ups? Like for example, you doing knees up with the chin ups, just trying to change the leverages to make the exercise more difficult, or were you just focusing on just those simple basic chin ups and pull ups?
Yeah, it was pure basics, just straightforward, same move. Uh, I wasn't trying anything crazy. I tried some of them, but I didn't put them. I didn't really implement them. I
Yeah,
just kind of to see if I could do them, and
yeah,
that was that. I was like, okay, well, I could do an L sit, and that's easy. But
yeah,
I didn't understand the benefit of it either.
yeah,
Now it's different. Now it's like I'll knock those out, cool,
yeah,
because I know what they're about, right?
yeah. I
So,
think the hits your lower lats really hard.
oh yeah, definitely,
You know.
definitely. They're not easy, especially if you take them really slow.
Yeah. You have to. That's the thing about the chin up. And I'm guilty of this myself. Like I think you just hammer chin ups, they're going to cover your back, and they do to a certain degree. But you need to start getting quite imaginative with your chin ups. You need to start going through the pain barrier, which is really focusing on that eccentric part of the chin up, nice slow as you can, holding at the bottom, back up. But the thing is you sometimes veer away from it because it's really fucking painful.
Yeah,
It's really painful. Going to failure with a really slow eccentric chin up is agony.
yeah, definitely, definitely, and especially like you said, you're going through it because you're thinking about it, right? So
Yeah,
it's that mind muscle connection where you're. I mean, I close my eyes and envision, what my lats look like on the inside and what's happening. right? That whole muscle just being frayed, being torn apart,
Yeah,
and that even makes it worse. But that's the benefit, right? And
absolutely.
compared to doing 5 of those, and then trying to do just 15 fast ones,
Yeah,
I think we're experienced enough to say, "I should have just stuck to those 5."
yeah,
It's a different result all the way, a different experience, and
yeah.
if you're thinking about it and you're connected to it, I believe those neurons are firing to there, and that muscle will grow and it'll get shredded up.
Yeah, I agree with you, but at the same time, I think there's a time and a place because sometimes I like to fire out the fast ones where the form is kind of loose because I just like to get blood flow pumped into the
Mhm.
muscles. So I think these all there's a time and a place for everything. I mean, for my own example, I became quite militant with my push-ups. I would always go chest to floor. I would always achieve full lockout, and I was becoming a bit of a form doctor. Then I started watching guys like Elias Neal with who were doing just fast pumps, and I thought these guys' chests are like fucking, they're massive, they're like Arnold
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger. They're
yeah,
just doing pumps, and something clicked in my head. I thought they're just getting blood into the muscle. They're not overthinking the process. They're
right.
just getting that fucking blood pumping. So I started doing it myself, and I was like, this is actually working for me. So there's definitely a time and a place for techniques that are used with certain
Yeah.
calisthenics movements. So, with that in mind, lower body day. What happened to lower body day, Marty?
Oh man, again, so the examples that I had growing up, right? Only because it was in the house, it was what I saw. Legs were like, who does legs? To be completely honest, right? I run, I do this, I do, that's what it was. A lot of even the guys where I grew up and all that, they were just top heavy, right?
Yeah,
Chest, arms, and that's it. Um, so I kind of just forced myself to believe that, hey, you know what, you got to do your legs, which is automatic. It should be automatic. So that's what it was. Every other day, every other night, just squats and lunges. So I would go a set of squats right into lunges. Wait a little bit and just repeat, and just repeat, just repeat, just repeat to the point where it also kind of just varied when it came to legs. Because for me, my legs, I have to put some weight on, right? Either the squat or dumbbells or whatever. I've been doing body weight squats for a long time, and I think I don't know what it is. My legs are hard gainers, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but I didn't really see too much of a difference, and this was like long term, right? But I stuck to it. I stuck to it, and I was just thinking, you know what, my legs are stronger, just because they don't look a certain way, whatever. Get away from the look, get away from the ego, and all that. It's like,
yeah,
hey, I could carry my kid across this street, just essential stuff that which was at the same time what I had in my mind. It's like, look, I'm doing this first and foremost for health, right?
yeah,
And I made it this far. Try to make it, another whatever, So the first one was that, and then came, everything else. But lower body days was, yeah, squats, lunges, calves. Again, calves was another one that was just like, who has calves, right? I don't see them. But yeah, definitely, definitely. There was a point where I started, doing more and more research, and it started getting a little more serious. Sorry about
no problem.
that. Yeah, and then calves. Calves were oh man, when I would do calves, that soreness, couldn't stand it, right? It was just, oh, you forget you did calves yesterday and you wake up and it's like, oh, you can't even walk. So definitely, definitely that took a toll to where it wasn't the way I should have been doing it, but I was still hitting them at least 3 times a week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's nothing worse like quadricep pain the next day is really bad, but calf pain is excruciating
It's
because
something different, yeah.
but like it's an interesting point you brought up there when you spoke about you weren't noticing like any improvement with regards to size in the legs. And that kind of ties in with my thoughts on body weight training for the legs. I personally, through my own experience, think that lower body bodyweight exercises should be viewed through the prism of conditioning as opposed to muscular hypertrophy, because I think ultimately if you're looking to develop the legs, you should be looking at the gym for that heavy weight, because the legs are like the engine of your body with regards to your limbs. You're constantly on them, so you need to really damage them. And you know yourself, you can do like 500 body weight squats and you will be in pain the next day, but will your legs get any bigger? Probably not. Which is why a lot of these body weight routines you see tend to be more geared towards the upper body.
Right, right, definitely, definitely. I've kind of seen, differences when I do, because I still do go to the gym, right?
Yeah,
I still throw in the weights and the free weights and leg day. Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's there. 3 plates, I could get it up, but again, you look at my legs and it's just, it's like, what was going on? But again, at the same time, put me on a hill, put me on a hike, these hikes that I do, I'm up there, right? So, and that's, I think that's the main goal, right?
yeah,
Like you said, strong condition, comes in many shapes and forms, man. So definitely, definitely body weights, exercises. Yeah. The top body, upper body. I think that's the main part, but it still works.
yeah. So we've did the calisthenics, and then the burpee becomes a thing in your life. So let's talk about the burpee and what was happening when you first started doing the burpee, and your thoughts and how you decided to take this and make it one of your main movements.
Right, right. So I would say the first time I did burpees, again, right? I didn't really know what I was doing, and I took it as an approach that I would with pull-ups, dips, and push-ups, right? I was thinking just go as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and that's it. So over time, I started working out with different guys that were actually slowing it down, doing them different. They counted them different. So I learned from them, and I kept it going to where I noticed that heart rate, right? Your heart rate spiking, the sweat pouring. And if that wasn't happening, then to me, the burpees weren't working, right? So I coupled these together and then eventually, right, started throwing in 2 pumps, 3 pumps, Navy SEALs. Um, and it just became that. It became a big staple for one. Well, I mainly started doing them again, hence the name mandatory, right? It was a spot where I like to call a gated community, right? And these workouts were mandatory. So you get those in automatically, right? And they became very easy and natural, right? They just felt completely, kind of effortless in the beginning. So I got to the point where people were asking me like, "Hey, do you want to work out? How do you do them?" So it just became this natural, just kind of evolved into me becoming kind of helpful to people. So I kind of took on that responsibility in a way. They were kind of I was put in a position where I kind of had to make sure people were working out and I was working out with them. And sometimes I would go and say, "Hey, have you worked out?" "No, well, let's get it. I'm gonna do them with you." This was a thing as well too. I mean, I was helping myself, but it was a form of like sort of like respect and building, your the next man up. Um, and I saw that being committed to these burpees as well as other workouts, it kept me from a whole bunch of other stuff. First of all, mentally, right? It helped me tremendously mentally, because I was just again you get in that zone, and you look forward to it the next day and the next day, the next day. And I was doing a lot, right? So these routines were taking up a lot of my day. So with that being busy, taking up my day, keeping me from a lot of other stuff that could be seen as a negative, uh, I was just stuck and I caught that bug and I loved them and I kept doing it to the point where I would max out and I couldn't get off the floor. I had to put a knee down. This was doing 10 Navy SEALs straight, um, just a constant, puddle on the floor, and just by myself sometimes, right? With music on and just in the zone. And it just became, I fell in love with them.
So You said something interesting at the beginning there, which was about how when the move is slowed down, it becomes something else. And I think that's something that people need to accept, because everyone has their like idea of what a burpee should be, so they like avoid it because their interpretation of the burpee is a punishment exercise which is really sloppy
Right.
and gasses you out quickly, meaning you don't really get the benefits of the exercise because you can't perform it for a certain duration of time.
Right.
And when you realise it can be performed at a slower pace, for a lot of guys who get into the burpee game, it's like a bomb going off in their head because they are given permission to go at a pace which is manageable, but at the same time, it's still quite tough. But it allows them to scale accordingly.
Right.
So, is that something that you've like felt at the same time
That,
yourself?
that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened because of the fact that they became kind of natural and a little effortless. Not effortless, but again, I was thinking my approach was, go to failure, go hard as you can, no rest. I was thinking that's gonna help me. When I saw the other guys slowing it down, and then we just took the piston routine, one up, one down, and it was slower, but at the same time, it gave me a sense of like relief in a way, right? It gave me a sense of relief, like, oh, I could do it this way. I don't have to kill myself, and
Yeah,
I actually enjoyed it more.
yeah, yeah,
And I think having these guys next to me too, that. I mean, having a workout partner, that's awesome, right? I mean, yeah, doing it by yourself, that's awesome as well. But when you have these other guys, especially when you get a group of guys, I mean, it's nothing else. We get that energy going, we're talking to each other.
yeah,
That's what happens. So I think I was molded to somewhat the camaraderie of it, right?
yeah,
As men, and we're doing the same thing and we're on the same page. And it wasn't me trying to do anybody, like faster or stronger. It was just, what, this is what we do, and this is how we
yeah.
can do it in one way or another, which is beneficial.
Yeah. That's like fascinating to me because this is something that I've always wanted to speak about. The workout partner, right? So let's put it into a gym context, okay? You go to the gym with your friend to perform weights, right? Which means that your friend, their duties are relegated to standing, watching you perform your set, sometimes helping you lift the bar. If they're quite extroverted, they might try and encourage you to lift the weight, and that's it. That is your workout partner. For most people, I'm sure, like a top level bodybuilder, they get workout partners that really motivate them. So it's
Right.
in that respect. But for most people in the gym, a workout partner is just a friend who they talk to.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, a workout partner in a burpee context is a different beast altogether.
Oh yeah.
Becomes there's a synergistic quality that kicks in that's difficult to explain. And case in point, you can get most people who of average fitness performing 100 burpees in their first go because they tap into that energy, which is the slower pace burpee and the encouragement that you both give each other and the one up, one down format. It becomes like a dance in that respect. So both of you lock into something that's singular. And I think that's something that people don't really talk about in the burpee community, which is if you can, you need to get a workout partner because your performance is going to go through the roof. And it will give you that confidence to just take this exercise further.
Definitely, definitely. Having a workout partner is one of the best things that I think can happen. For one, like you said, everything that you said, and then it gives a sense of like, if I don't have this partner today, I might go ask this other guy, right? So it just becomes this circle of like dishing out burpees to everybody. And there's no way that I've gotten a workout with a partner and it was a negative, even though we might be different levels,
Yeah,
right? But it's always something there because again, it's how you're thinking, and you're trying to, like you said, it's iron sharpens iron.
yeah,
So all these benefits, and it's all paid to the burpees,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
These calisthenics, and that's what it is. And eventually, right, the person might get to your level, or uh, you could just be satisfied with like, hey, this guy did his thing, and I'm helping
yeah,
because of this. But definitely, having all these workout partners, different workout partners, because even the some that I had, I couldn't keep up with in the beginning, right? And then it just turned into that first, and then it was, yes, we're definitely getting this workout, we're getting stronger, we're getting faster,
yeah.
um and yeah, it was benefits all the way around when you get other people involved, especially when you get a big group, when you get like 10 guys, and you're facing each other, or you're all in one line. It's Yeah, it's really fun, man. I love it. And exactly, you're not gonna get that with waiting for the bench press. Not, unless you got the guys that are slapping each other, or throwing chalk at each other. But yeah, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of high rep bodyweight training. Ultimately, is that it's how dynamic it is, and how exciting it is. And I kind of compare it to playing a computer game. Like years ago, you had Sonic the Hedgehog, but
Yeah,
then Sonic Two came out, and you
yeah,
two play it at the same time. So multi
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the experience more fulfilling.
Yep,
And it's the same with burpees. The more people you get involved, when everybody's tapping into that sort of atmosphere and that vibe, it just becomes a euphoric experience in some respects.
definitely, definitely.
So, at what point, right? Because one thing, the thing that caught my eye, and the thing that definitely catches most people's eye, is that your burpees are very unique, Marty. I watch some of your like burpees, and you spend a lot of time on the floor doing these intricate movements. When did Is that something you do on a daily basis?
Now, yeah, that's what I guess I like to say it just evolved into that. Um, so instead of so again, back for years prior, it got to the point where it wasn't even counting the reps anymore, right? It was just, for example, hey, the first hour we're gonna do two pump. Let's see what we do for the second hour. So it became
Yeah,
this, just monotonous, and it was great, but at the same time, I felt like I needed a little something different, a little more challenging, maybe just being a little more creative, imaginative, right? And yeah, definitely, I've always had these moves in mind, thinking I should try them or not try them. And then once I started messing around with the Navy SEAL a little bit, that's exactly what it went to. And then I got to the point where, again, since I'm already, not I'm not 21 anymore, right? So the wrist, the joints, little stuff it's there, wear and tear, right? So I
yeah,
figured going an hour of 3 pumps, 5 pumps, and getting to that result, whichever it is for me, right? Meaning where my heart rate is, how many calories I burn, all that good stuff. I can get there with doing 5 Navy SEALs straight with maybe a different variation of it, and do that for about maybe 10 to 15 sets. Now I even call them sets, right? Because it's that I'm down there for about 20 to 30 push-ups if you're just counting the push-up. So I realized that my heart rate is through the roof. I'm sure I'm burning the calorie, I'm sweating in less time than the whole hour of like 3 pumps and Navy SEALs. So I figured, you know what, I'm gonna stick to this for a little bit, and that's what's been happening for like maybe about a year now, or maybe a little more, to where I'm doing nothing but that. Like it's a whole set of like say 5 Navy SEALs, and then even loop it. Right, I could do 3 to 5 different variations, and then I'll just loop it for about 5 sets. And that's one without coming up. And when I'm done with 3, 4 sets of that, I'm sweating, I'm soaked to like I already did. For example, like if I already did 300 1 pump. You see what I'm saying? So, and I figure, you know what, less time, get there faster, and
yeah,
wear and tear, right? Less maybe injury. Um, it might not be correct, but that's what I'm feeling now. That's how
yeah,
I like it, and that's what's giving me a little more challenge as well. And it became a little more. I got that little spark back into it. It's actually fun again.
yeah,
So I figured, you know what, I'm gonna stick to this for a little while and see how this goes. And I noticed a lot of people do like it more than not, right? But there are a lot of people that have said a couple comments like, "You're not doing burpees. That's not a burpee." So it's like, okay, well, hey, it is what it is. This is where it comes from. This is I'm calling it my burpees, right? So I just say, try it out and see what happens. It's the workout, right?
yeah,
Um, some people have actually, confused with, why do you call it this and why do you? I'm like, look, again, less is more sometimes. Just do the
yeah,
workout and then come talk to me, right?
yeah.
So that's what I'm doing now, and I think it's for the most part, again, health wise, longevity. If I could cut the time down as well, compared 20 minutes to an hour, and for me, I'm getting those results. Uh, that's what's been going on lately, and I'm trying to just figure out even more moves that I can try to do, at least that my body allows me to do.
Okay, so what's the process that is involved for the creation of these burpees? Do you practice the burpee prior to like the workout, or do you just make it up on the fly?
It depends if it's something new that I haven't tried, and somehow I'm just it pops up to imaginative, right? I'm just imagining moves that I can probably do. Because again, there's a lot of stuff that I watch, there's a lot of stuff that I see, and I try to maybe take an idea from there. um if it's new, I will maybe go through it slow, even try to remember it, because there's times where you got to remember the move. If it's something that I already know or somewhat close, similar to what I've done before,
Yeah,
it'll just come out automatically. But there are some that I've had to kind of maybe go through them really slow and get the move down first, even remember, because when I'm down there, I mean, I'm talking to myself when I'm down there,
yeah,
trying to remember what the next move is, with the breathing. And yeah, it's honestly, it's been challenging, but it's been fun.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think some people like consider how mentally challenging a burpee can be when it's performed in that style. Speaking from my own experience, if I'm ever linking stuff, there's points where you get confused because you're having to really focus on the rep itself as
Right.
opposed to the workout. It's like the rep quality just becoming absorbed in the rep. And it's one thing I always stress to people is that the only rep that matters is the one that you're performing. The other reps don't exist.
Definitely.
You have to give that rep everything. You need to. And one thing I noticed as well is you've got that nice slow pace. And I think a lot of people veer towards that fast pace,
Right.
which is I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. I think that you need to get the joints strong. You need to put them in those positions just for a second so they get used to the points of contact so you can drill these into your head and just create that better technique over time. So
Definitely. Definitely.
you also brought up the comments you get when people say like that's not a burpee. How do you deal with these guys? Because it's something I can definitely sympathise with.
Yeah, definitely. You know what? I've been through enough. I've been through a lot. So I've heard it all. I've heard
Yeah,
it all. Even before, I mean, on a personal, real life stuff. I mean, Instagram, yes, it's real life, but I've been through enough to where I got thick skin, and to me, if the person on the other end is taking their time to do that, they either need help, which I'm all here for, right? In
yeah,
any way, shape, or form.
yeah,
Um, or maybe there's just something inside of them that has nothing to do with me.
yeah,
I don't know the person, I don't know, but usually it depends what they say and how they say it, that I'll definitely respond with something positive first.
yeah,
And it all ends to where, you know what, just try the workout and then get back to me. The ones that are just kind of just off the bat, just super negative. There's some that I just delete them, man. I don't want no part of that.
Yeah.
Um, there's been a few where we've gone back and forth, and that's just I don't get it. I don't understand it. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't really give it too much time, and I don't really think about it too much. But I definitely always see, you know what, this is an opportunity. Somebody's reaching out. They took the time, so I might give them the time to definitely try to help out, right? Because again, this is what we do. Like you try to help out people, and we're here to make people, not break people, right? And
Yeah.
that's the whole mission.
Yeah, I've used, like, I seen that Iron Wolf used to use a technique where he would take a hater's comment and actually pin it at the top.
Ah,
So I started doing that myself and was actually just putting them at the top of the comments so that people could see. And I would sometimes give a cheeky retort myself because that's what Glaswegians tend to do. We like to give a bit of back and forth to someone who's.
yeah, yeah.
And sometimes other people will get involved because you're always going to have people that have your back and they see it and they're like, what the fuck? So you
Oh,
kind of can just take over, particularly when the jump gets discussed. And was that something that you had to get your head around when you noticed that these burpees you were performing, when you first seen them performed in that style, that there was no jump?
yeah, definitely. You know what? I was taught without the jump. Um, I never really I saw it way later. I did see it again to where I was really getting acclimated to, all the different styles and or different variations, not styles, because it was just the variation and no jump. If we would throw in, jumping jacks, that was the only one that was maybe considered close to that. I saw a guy go, around and he was doing them like that, and it looked different. It looked strange. It looked weird, and I didn't really see the benefit in it. But again, I never really tried it, so I
Yeah,
don't knock it at all. I could understand now that, hey, definitely I'm sure that hits over time, right? But I just said, you know what? I'll just do it without the jump. I'll
yeah,
stick to what I know, and I think I did try it once for one routine. Uh, but it was for time, and me and my buddy were messing around, and I didn't get the benefit of it, and
yeah.
I didn't take it serious. So there's no jump for me. I'll just do the normal ones.
Yeah, the jump's weird. Right, so what advice would you give to someone who's starting out using burpees as their main choice of exercise? How would you like advise them to like program a progressive workout or become acquainted with the exercise?
Yeah. So it all depends, right? I mean, it all depends on their size, and but if everything's like generally okay to go, right? He's in decent weight, no major stuff going on. I'd say first of all, learn to love the pain, right? Or know that that's going to happen. And that's actually the main teacher of it, right? Again, this goes into what we think. Um, Secondly, learn the move properly, right? If you have to slow it down to the point where you're descending 3 seconds just to get it right, find your spots, your hand placements. If you need extra, whatever, extra padding maybe, or if you need gloves, whatever, find your own rhythm because that's the beauty of it, right? Nobody's the same. Nobody's exactly one way or another. It's the same movement, but it's your burpee, right? And it's your set and it's what you're going to do, your rep. So I definitely say that. And I'd say just stick to it. Don't give up on it. And if you can go hard, meaning as fast as you can or as hard as you want by yourself sometimes, try that and give it a little bit of scientific approach to it sometimes. Maybe, all right, how many can you do in 30 seconds, right? Figure your body out, how you
Yeah,
respond. If it's one pump, two pump, three pump, how long does it take for your heart rate to get up? So do your own little research. If you have to write stuff down, if you could just remember it, put some effort into it because the more you put into it, the more it's going to give to you. And I think that that's everything. But definitely do your thing, even though somebody else's might look a certain way that you want to do. Go ahead, go for it. But just know that hey, he might be just a little taller, or his spring back up might be a little slower than yours. You might be better at it. So
yeah.
That's what I tell people all the time. And if you're a super beginner, like you've never tried burpees before, I often tell people like, hey, use a an elevated surface, maybe like a bench, a chair. If it's like really hard, lean on the wall and just jump back with your feet. Get these movements down.
Yeah,
Know them first and get acclimated with them, and see how you respond to them.
yeah,
And that's for the most part. And eventually, over time, yeah, like anything, everything good takes time, right?
yeah, definitely. Would you give them any rep targets to reach or anything of that nature?
Again, it all depends, but usually, I would say for me, even when I first started, even though I had really never done a full routine, yeah, it was 100. It was 101 pump. Um, but that was when we started doing the more slowed down version. When I went hard on the first one with no rest, just up and down, I got maybe to about 30, 35. I was gassed. I was
Yeah,
gassed out, and I'm thinking I'm doing something, right? But that was an experience in itself as well, too. So I tell people like, hey, look, if you're good to go, no injuries, and you feel solid when you're doing them,
hmm,
yeah, try to destroy yourself at
yeah,
least once or twice a week, maybe, or maybe once a month, if
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And just to that challenge, just to see where you're really at, and
yeah,
then you can really start slowing them down and throwing in new stuff. But
yeah.
for the most part, I say just really get to know it and know that it's yours and nobody else's.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really interesting point. I think that with burpees, the majority of your training should be training. You should just be training the burpee, not trying to hit PRs constantly. Just
Right.
train, just trying to get your body acclimatized, just trying to become more familiar with the movement and build up that work capacity. However, sporadically, you need to test. You need to test.
Definitely.
So, with that in mind, do you have any tests? Is there any way you test your own ability from time to time?
So these, what I'm doing now, honestly, it's kind of like I'm going to failure on each one.
Yeah,
Like you said, you mentioned problem child Elias, right? Just
yeah.
this pump, these pumps that I'm doing, I'm getting that hit on the kind of like on the first two reps. I'm already just feeling it, and these challenges have been coming through. And like I said, before way back, I thought going as hard as you can was the way to go. Now I kind of get that little sense of that feeling, right? I start getting these endorphins going, that euphoric feeling. I start getting that runner's high faster than doing the three pump for an hour. So these are kind of testing me whenever I do them. They're getting easier, so I might throw in even more reps or less rest. But for the most part, these things are testing me every day. And there's some days, again, not every day is perfect, and some are harder than others, some are
Yeah,
less than others. Or I'm like, all right, I'm counting three, and I'm done. I'll
yeah,
go to the next rep, go to the next rep, go to the next rep. But
yeah.
for the most part, these are a lot more challenging lately.
So do you ever go for those raw power tests where like you just do 100 in as fast as time as possible?
I tried going. So a while back, me and a buddy of mine, we tried. We did a challenge, right? We did a burpee challenge where we started at 100 and added 25 for the whole month. We added 25 every day.
Right?
So we even got to the point where, like, you know what? Let's try to hit a record. Let's try to hit Guinness. We were trying to get all this going, and we were really close. We were really close to trying it. We did our research, and there was certain times that weren't in the books. So we were gonna go for like, how many can you do in 3 minutes? How many can you do in 30 seconds? So we were practicing this here and there, and but they include the jump.
Yeah,
So it kind of threw me off a little bit, but at the same time, it was during the challenge. So we would mess around and put the clock on, and then go hit, our challenge burpees, meaning like we were hitting 625. The next day it was 650. The next day it was 675. So I was messed up that whole month. Um, but I want to try that again. One sooner or later, I'm gonna get the clock and see where I'm at, and just go as hard as I can to the point where you never know. might end
Yeah.
up breaking something.
Oh, that's hilarious, mate. So, right, so who are the burpee guys that you look up to? Who are the guys that always catch your attention or inspire?
Yeah, definitely. The ones that I've always been kind of attached to, right, are I guess the ones that I started seeing in the beginning,
Right.
which again, and all these dudes are beasts, right? Burpees King, Iron Wolf, right? Moses, right? Oh man, there's well, my boy Tatted Strength, the guy I did the workouts with. There's a couple guys that I follow on my page. They follow me. I can't remember the names right now, but for the most part, I guess the guys that I've been following for a while. You example, I mean, you're beast, all day, every day.
Thanks very
Um,
much.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I guess it's the part where it's just that consistent thing,
Yeah,
right? I It sticks out just because of that, because I know what consistency is capable of, right? And then just the benefits of them pushing it out and trying to show others, and they're part of the mission, right? They're
yeah,
part of the mission of trying to help others with burpees or just fitness in general.
yeah. I think the burpee community is one of the most welcoming of fitness communities that I've ever came across, because we know it's a hard sell. Most people don't like burpees; they hate them. They raise their eyebrows. So we are up against it, which is why we become quite passionate about the burpee. So I think it's our duty to try and spread the word out there and help people, because we're giving them access to something that's there. It's there at any moment's given notice.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
travel, they don't have to like learn much. They've got the ability to perform as long as they're standing on something.
definitely, definitely, definitely.
Duty in that respect.
What's that?
Uh, have you ever heard of a guy called Burpees Ikram?
I don't think so.
Right, look up Burpees
I'm
Ikram.
sure I've probably seen them.
Yeah, Burpees Ikram. He's disappeared. He's not done any content for a long time, and I've actually reached out to him, but he's went AWOL. But he's the best burpee guy I've ever seen, without a
I'll check
doubt.
them out. I'll check them out. Yeah.
Thailand, I think he did 500 Navy SEALs for 30 days straight, and he was
Ooh.
he was doing it under an hour every time.
Oh yeah, that's vicious. Yeah,
Absolutely. So
yeah.
anyway, we're going to have to wrap this up, Marty. But before we do so, can you tell people who are listening where to find you on YouTube, Instagram, wherever else?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm mandatory.g on Instagram, m.g on YouTube, mandatory growth, that should pop up as well. And those are the only two I have right now. And that's what I'm doing, again, because it helped me out in so many ways and in some spots of my journey back in the day where I'm gonna say maybe down and out, but I wasn't, some people might see it that way. I think I owe a lot, and I owe it to others as well. And that's the whole point of me even being on Instagram or YouTube, is to try to help anybody that wants to get into shape or just somehow, some way get less worse than where we are, because we can all get better, right?
Yeah,
And again, if it's just burpees, that's cool. If it's weightlifting or if it's pull-ups, that's what I could do that as well. I mean, I'm not an all-around guy, but either way, I'm here to help. Even if it's just talking, right? A conversation, simple comments. I love getting these comments from people. We get into certain conversations and it's so positive, man. It's a great thing, right? And fitness is a big thing, especially here, at least in this state, and just well in this country as well. The overweight thing, the obesity thing is rampant and it's getting worse, right? And again, the whole comfort food and just it's a long list of reasons why I also do this, and I talk about it, that nutrition is a big thing as well, right? So that whole thing is there, and that's just my mission. That's what I'm trying to do with people. Um, but yeah, that's what it is. Mandatory.g on Instagram and on YouTube, MG. Look up your boy, and if you got any questions, comments, concerns, thank you, Lee, for having me on here. Strong and conditions, man. That's for life. That's what we got to do.
absolute pleasure, my man. Anyway, I really enjoyed that, Marty. That was excellent. I loved it. Loved it.
Yeah,
So
me too, man. Same here.
hopefully we can get you on again at some point.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Just let me know, man. I'm available, you know, whenever we can do it. Just eight
Definitely.
hour difference.
Absolutely. Anyway, catch you later, buddy.
All right, brother.